fan of black, but I'll use it in moderation. I've got one of my final collage surfaces here, and I've also got some brown paper. I'll show you that on a roll. It's a brand new roll as well, so I might use some of that. I quite like the one that I think Amanda sent this one in, and I think they've just used brown paper or some kind of packaging. So yeah. I'm excited to use this material because I haven't actually used brown paper that much, really. Can't remember the last time I used it, so I am excited for that. And before we end as well, I think I might do one of my drip paintings again, which should be good. Right. I think I'll do one now actually like this. I'm just going to start by opening all of the paint because for this one it hasn't got a strong back like the cardboard, so I'm going to have to hold it with one hand. So I'm just going to start by opening all the lids on my paints that I'm going to use. Now I've got things like reds, oranges, yellows, blues, greens. So some really exciting materials and colours. I'm going to use some white as well. I think white does look quite good on newspaper and newsprint. I'm just going to start by holding it up and starting right at the top, and you can see it gradually dribbling down. This is something that I don't normally do, where I'm holding it up and kind of demonstrating to the camera, so I think we're going to try this. And I'm just going to apply my next colour kind of close to it, and you can see it gradually moving down the surface that I'm using as well. So over time it's gradually changing state, and if you think about it, the paint is going on a journey from the top of the piece to the bottom of the piece. So again, a really interesting way to think about the materials that you're using and the surface, because I think the materials and the objects and the surface all go on a journey of their own in one way or another, and kind of all come together as one kind of artwork or one piece. I'm going to apply my next kind of colour, and by the sounds of that I am running out of yellow paint. I'm just going to watch it dribble down. But again, Baker Ross paints are a really good material to use, I think, or any ready mix paint really. But Baker Ross is one of my favourites, I've got to say. So I'm just gonna start, and then depending on the direction of the paint, you can start maybe rotating the work slightly. And then again, that'll depend on where the paint goes. I'm just going to start by adding some of the pink, because I do quite like this pink material. And I'm going to add some of the white as well, just because I think white, when it starts to blend with another colour, like it's doing now, looks really good. And then if you want, you can actually rotate and change the direction of the paint, which again, you can see on the corner. It's then blending down a bit more, and the colours then start to merge to make kind of zigzag kind of lines. So again, think about the rotation of the material as well. And you can see gradually all that paint is merging slightly, and you can see the fine lines of different colours coming through. I'm just wondering what else I can do to it now. I might add some more red, possibly. And now you can see, if I start rotating it, the colours are gradually changing direction again, which is really interesting. Right, I'm going to start by working on my brown paper piece, I think, because I haven't done that yet. So what I might do is leave the large backgrounds until next week, because I do have some large ones on the floor, but I don't think I'm going to have any space left to do them.
You've been absolutely prolific today.
No, I think when you start doing this kind of thing and you get lots of materials out, you get lots of different ideas generating very, very quickly, and then it's just a case of working out which ones you're going to do, and I guess where you're going to take the work, because with this kind of activity there are lots of different directions that you can take the work in.
I'm such a tightwad as well. Whenever I've got paints out, I'm like, right, I need to finish them. I don't want to waste them. I'm not going to throw them out. What can I do now? What else can I paint? What else can I cover?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to start by rolling out my brown paper and just cutting a little bit off, I think. And then, there we are.
So I've covered my grey plastic. I've done a thing, Holly, where I've stuck a couple of kind of green silvery fish on it, and I'm not sure that I like the fish. I might have to take the fish off, but I'm going to show you the grey plastic envelope.
Ooh, very good. Oh, I like that.
I'm not sure about these wee fish. I think I might need to take them off. My friend Jenny gave them to me. I don't think I like them. I think I'm taking them off. Sorry, fish, you're not staying. Oh, it doesn't want to come off. Oh, come off. I'll put you somewhere else. Look, I'll find somewhere else for you.
I'm just gonna start with a bubble wrap background, I think. So we're just gonna use some of this white paint just to cover my bubble wrap, I think. Alright. So yeah, it's very much painting and printing at the same time. And I guess performing really with the objects and materials that you're using. So we're all kind of coming together on a Zoom call, but then we are kind of performing in our own environments, which is quite interesting. Oh wow! Oh, I like this. Oh, I like the bubble wrap. I'll show you. I quite like that. Very nice. I'm gonna try that again, actually. Right. I think the trick with bubble wrap is just to not layer it too much, just so you know you want to see those spots and everything. You don't want too much paint all in one area.
100%. I've used bubble wrap and I've put too much paint on and I've just ended up with a big blob. But then if once you've kind of got the blob of paint off, it does create that kind of like multi-circled effect, yes, which is nice.
Yeah, that's definitely right.
Like that over here, actually. What to do with you now? That's what I'm going to do with you now.
I'm just going to start by flicking some of this black paint onto the surface. Right, one thing that I might do that I never really do is actually make a monochrome piece. Just keep it black and white and not add any colour on. I might do that for this one actually. Just because I quite like the brown paper and then the contrast between light and dark all on one kind of page. So I actually might just leave it at the black and white. Yeah, I might leave it like that actually.
Yeah. Because again, that's quite unusual for you Holly, because you're always you're always like really loads of colours, aren't you?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's very different for me as well. Just to keep it at the black and white, because normally on my work there is some form of colour emerging. So yeah, I think it's yeah, definitely a turning point. But I do quite like the black and white and the brown paper. I do think it works really nicely.
Right, I'm going to wash my hands.
Yeah. I think what I might do now is experiment a bit more with this brown paper, but focusing on like greens and blues and whites, and just seeing what different kind of combinations I can make as well. So I'm just going to start with this tennis ball and string, and then some light blue paint, and again just bouncing and kind of dragging it around the surface. So already you can see it's made that kind of appearance, or that kind of state.
You still zooming?
Are you free?
Hmm?
Are you free?
There we are. So we've got a mix of greens and a mix of kind of blues here. And these marks, to an extent, are totally random. You don't really know where the object is going to land, which is quite interesting. There we are. So already we've got a mix of bouncing kind of motions, and then just dragging the ball around to make like large kind of like spirals in different colours. So already quite an interesting technique to apply the material, you know, the paint, to the surface. And now I'm just going to start adding some white on, I think. And you can also, for this, use a nail brush. I'm just going to get some more white paint. And you've got a nail brush here, which you can also use to just drag it around in the white paint. And then it makes some really cool marks. If I just hold that bit up, you can see the white marks on the material, which is quite cool. And you can just make brush kind of motions. You can dab it, like I was doing before. So again, think about different ways to get that material, so that paint or whatever you're using, onto the surface. And these could be, you know, through any form that you can think of. Now, for this activity, it is mainly about the experience and everything, but also think about the gestures and the different ways that you can apply the material that you're using to the surface that you're working on. And also the journey for yourself as the artist with the work. So the journey that you have as you see it developing over time, as well as the journey the material or the surface itself has gone on. So again, it's a really diverse, really interesting kind of ways of thinking about this mark making as an activity or as a thing to do. Now for this piece, I'm kind of giving it more of like an ocean kind of feel. So I'm just using quite marine based colours, so things like blues, and I've got some purples in and some greens, and then just some whites just to mix and blend together. You know, white is quite a good shade to blend into colours and create pastel kind of tones. There we are. I do like working on this brown paper, actually. I'll show you what I've done here. Again, using a nail brush and a tennis ball. So again, making some really kind of interesting marks on the surface.
It looks quite layered as well, considering it's just
Yeah,
like the one
yeah.
surface.
Really.
Like you've gone from like
Mhm.
a really kind of collage based kind of multi-surface space onto just like a plain back, just a plain flat
Yeah.
background, and it still creates quite a lot of
What I've got now is I've got some white postcards that I'm just pushing down on the surface just to create some kind of printed pieces. And again, these kind of works that I'm doing, these printed pieces after I've made the actual artwork, it's almost like, I guess, a record or a trace of the marks that have been created. And it also kind of links the work quite nicely, because as you know, I've been experimenting with different scales of working and different sizes. So again, it is really interesting to do some printing, even if it's just using newspaper that you fold in half. It is quite interesting to replicate the works, and then you'll realise when you do that it hasn't been replicated exactly right, because these works are so random and they're not controlled that it's quite hard to make an exact copy of it as an original piece. So again, looking at, I guess, how unique the works are, and the different materials and the different gestures that we're making, and also what affects the way we apply those materials as well. So say if you're angry or frustrated, you may use quite quick and strong gestures in relation to if you're talking, and then you just kind of applying the material gently. So again, different things that come into play when you're working with these materials, and I guess how it makes you feel. So again, the overall experience of creating and the overall experience of doing these works and these workshops. And I don't know about you, Fiona, but for me, when I finish, it gets me thinking about new things that I can try out through the week, and from the conversation, new ideas that I can experiment with. Often I see you doing things that I'm like, oh, I could do that, or I could try that. And again, if I did something and then you did something, and we're using the same material, they wouldn't look the same. And I think that's really, really interesting. The fact that you can use the same materials, but no matter how much you try with this activity, everyone's work will look different. And that is really interesting for me, for sure.
I think that's one of the things I enjoy getting together with people to do art, is even if you have the same, like you've just said, even if you're all trying to do exactly the same thing and draw the same thing, everybody's going to come up with their own interpretation of that, their own vision, their own their own kind of skill set as well, which is brilliant. But I mean, just going on some of those images that I sent you this week, Holly, like I said to you, I didn't do them during the workshop with you, but they wouldn't have happened without the workshop with you, because they all stemmed from conversations that you and I had, or listening to other people that were on the call last week. Even the wee girl Polly, who was with us last week, I just loved the way that she was able to describe her process, and it was just so. Yeah, it was really kind of like, you've totally got that, you've nailed that, and I can give that a try as well. So, yeah, definitely, it's a journey.
No, I think it's quite interesting as well, when we look at the works that we've made, our relationship between ourselves as an artist and then the work. And also when you're creating, I think I talked about this before, but when you're creating marks with the materials, a lot of people are thinking, I think like you, in the first week or so, what do I make? What can I do with these materials? And then you see, for instance, like children playing, and the idea of the playfulness, the playful element within the art that I'm trying to kind of get out through the experience and through the enjoyment of doing this. but you're often conscious about what you should make and what you should do. And I think it's quite good where you just relax and switch off and you just focus on the materials and just making different marks and experimenting. I think that is really key for this activity, for sure.
I think I told you that when I came across you on Eventbrite, I was looking at it and I was thinking, no, I don't think that's for me at all. No. And then I thought, you know what, just give it a wee shot, see what happens. And then that first week, and you were kind of, all about the colours and just like fly into it and just make the marks. And I was still trying to create cranes and trees and really quite literal things. It took me a couple of weeks to kind of just get into the process of it, Holly. But I'm absolutely freaking delighted with the whole thing. And it feeds into other classes that I'm doing in Zoom, which are, very different. There's sort of particular tasks and there's some, animal drawing and painting and using using inks and watercolors and what have you. And they're much more literal, I think.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm just relaxing into those spaces a whole lot more than I used to be able to. I was often quite tense, thinking, my bird needs to look like that bird there. It actually needs to look like a chaffinch. Yeah. But the more I've relaxed into just using the kind of the being more emotional, just connecting a little bit easier. I find my chaffinches have started looking like chaffinches. Who knew that was going to happen? So although it isn't like that kind of like, sort of strict drawing and strict interpreting, drawing that cup or drawing those flowers, this process has fundamentally changed the way that I do those kind of things, and for the better, absolutely for the better. This is just me using up my last wee bits of yellow and green and black paint.
Oh, I like that. That's really great.
Yeah, and I got my brush out again. I got my stippling, my broken hairbrush. Oh, in fact, it's not finished. I want that wee triangle. Wait a minute. Still got some colour left. Still got a bit of green left. Oh, and a bit of white as well. So I got the dice out again, which landed at the number 3 today. So there are some 3s in there. What else? I used my circular lid and those plastic things that I showed you at the beginning of the class, which have made some really nice marks. I'm very, very pleased with the marks that they made. I don't know if I want to do this. Am I going to ruin it? No, I'm not. Right, so that's both ends of my brush used now. And I used the netting on this one as well. And I also used this bit of squishy foam to make some nice kind of squishy squares. I'm very, very pleased with that. Am I holding it up the right way? Yes, I am. There we go.
Ooh, very nice. I like the yellows and greens that you've got going on. Very nice.
It's kind of a little bit like Sci-Fi Garden.
Sci-Fi Garden.
And I decided this week, Holly, that I'm going to get a big board, like just a giant whiteboard, to actually put some of my paintings and drawings up on the wall without actually putting them on the wall, because this room, it was just recently redecorated, so I kind of don't want to pin things up on the wall, and also I'm not really at a point where I really want to frame things either, but I do kind of want to display things. I want things to be out for longer than the week that I've actually done them. So I'm ordering up a massive big magnetic whiteboard to start pinning my things on.
Well, that's brilliant. No, for me, what I've done is I've only put works on the wall that have been sent in by other people, because obviously you can see here that your pieces are very nicely displayed on the wall, but I've just put up pieces that have been sent to me by other people, which I think is quite interesting, but serves a purpose, because I quite like the idea that you can see your work on the wall when you're creating, and I also like the idea that each work is by a different person, so it's almost like a mini show or a mini exhibition, with artists displaying work alongside each other, and that kind of then got me thinking about how we access art and how things are shown in galleries, and the context in which we view things. So yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, and I like your approach. And again, the art club that I used to go to with my dad, and again I'm one of the youngest ones there, and everybody's in their 60s, and it's they mostly do lovely watercolors and scenic views and animals and flowers and things like that. And there's not many people work in this kind of like abstract way. And
yes.
I've only been going for about a year or so, and they have an annual exhibition, which is quite well attended, and usually people sell quite a bit at it as well, considering most of them are amateurs. But the first time they were like, what are you going to put in? I was like, no, I'm not going to put anything in this year. I'll see about doing something next year. And then I was like, I don't do the same kind of stuff as you guys. I'm just going to stick out like a sore thumb at this exhibition. And now, honestly, Holly, I'm like, I can't wait for the next exhibition. I'm going to put in 3 pieces. I am so excited for this next exhibition. I'm going to be like, what do you think? What do you think?
I think often sometimes a new way of working and a new way of approaching something can be quite daunting. But yeah, no, I think it's just that learning process and learning with the materials and learning with the objects that you're working with, for sure.
And it's a wee bit, Holly, just about having confidence in what you're doing. Just like this is genuinely work in terms of it's not just, it is play, there's no two ways about it. It's messy play for grown-ups, but there's a lot of interpretation in here. There's a lot of thought gone into it. There's a lot of effort gone into it, and it's not it's about having confidence in what you're doing as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's quite emotive, like you were saying. It very much depends on what's going on inside you in terms of how you create a piece and what sort of marks you're making and what the kind of cadence of you're putting it down onto the paper, the kind of the rhythm that you're using, the pace that you're working at, all of these things, like kind of just move into it.
Now I think as well you can generate lots of different works very, very quickly.
Hang on.
Sorry. Now, I was saying before, Fiona, I think from this process you can develop and generate lots of different works really, really quickly, actually. Within these workshops, 2 hours, you can get a lot done. And again, I think you need to have these conversations to then develop ideas and develop new ways of working. I think other people's opinion and the kind of trial and error of the activity really does help. Trying different things. And for instance, the tennis ball worked well for me. You weren't so keen on it. So again, different relationships that we can have with these materials, with these objects. I mean, for me, I was quite confident in using the tennis ball, and I quite enjoyed it. However, I'm sure that may be something that you're not going to try again. So again, this trial and error kind of basis of the activity again is like a learning curve for yourself, as well as working with the objects, which is great.
And it's interesting seeing how other people are comfortable with things or uncomfortable with things,
Yeah.
Like I say,
Yeah, for sure.
those first few weeks, and it was very much sort of things around the house, particularly things from the kitchen. And I was like, no, that will make my lovely kitchen equipment dirty, and why would I use my lovely kitchen things to make painty things with? And then 3 weeks down the line, I'm raiding the kitchen before I come onto your Zooms, and I'm like, I don't even know what this article does, but it makes fantastic marks on the page. I don't know, I've never used it in the kitchen, but I'm using it in my art room.
No, I think the idea of working with different objects and using them in a different way that we would associate with is really interesting as well. For sure.
The week that I go away, we're going up to Oban for a couple of days.
Okay.
All things staying the same. We're
Fingers
going up to
crossed.
Oban for a couple of days. There's some lovely coastal walks and islands that you can get to very easily from Oban. And then we're heading over to Cullen, which is on the east coast rather than the west coast, and then down to St Andrews, where there's lovely woodland walks as well as amazing beach walks and coastal walks. So I shall be collecting everywhere that I go that week, and when I get back, it's going to definitely have a sea theme by the end of May for me.
Oh, brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Have you got any plans for this afternoon then, Fiona? Any plans for this afternoon? Oh, sorry, I think you're on mute again.
So I've got another art Zoom at 3.
Oh, exciting.
And we've been asked to bring things that can tangle, and there was a wee list of things to bring to that one, which I'll need to look at. And then this evening, I don't know if I've said to you, I volunteer at a local community grocer, and on a Wednesday evening, I go into the shop after hours and price up our Green City order. So that's quite a pleasant task. I don't mind that. It gets me out of the house with a little bit of purpose. And I really like the lady that I work alongside. So it's a nice bit of out of house chat with somebody different.
Right, I have just realised it's like 1:10. We're getting carried away here.
No way.
Yeah.
No wonder, I'm starving. And I was thinking to myself, why am I so hungry? And I'm like, that'll be why. Okay, I'm going to show you. I've still not finished this cardboard box piece, but I've started putting some black onto it, and I've
Okay.
used this trusty little spray light lid to create some marks on
Oh,
that.
brilliant. I love it.
You taking some more prints there?
Yeah, I've got some envelopes, some different kind of sized envelopes, so I might go around and have a look for any wet paint that I can print into. And then then go for a bit of lunch, I think, because I am getting a bit hungry now as well. Sorry, you're on mute again, Fiona.
Yeah, I'm definitely going for lunch. This isn't finished yet, but I'm gonna take another wee break from it. Thank you so much, Holly. What a brilliant session.
Thank you.
Very very productive today. Yeah, and I particularly like my plastic envelope, which I might send to you now.
Oh, I'll look forward to it. Thank you very much for joining me then today. Yeah, send me a few photographs or something if you can, and enjoy your 3 p.m. art session. That sounds really good. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. See you later. Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Adam, as well, for joining me. I'm gonna end the recording now because I've got my chair stuck. Because I've got it on record. But thank you very much for joining, and hope you have a good stream as well later on. Bye bye.